Welcome back, everyone, to the After the Scales podcast, episode 25, presented by DJD Graphics. I'm Jacob Dove from Phenom Motorsports, along with Shaun Blight, Canadian Racing Tours. Today, we got something different. We've had a lot of drivers on, but we have our first announcer, and that's the official voice of the High Limit Sprint Car Series, CHASE RAUDMAN. Chase, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. Always enjoy getting on here to talk some racing with different podcasts and things like that. In my opinion, the more content there is for sprint car racing, the better. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot going on with sprint car racing. Last night we saw Rico Abreu get the win in Knoxville, and then over the weekend we saw Kyle Larson dominate at I-55 in the Ironman. Talk us through, this whole past weekend with kind of the kickoff of the summer of money, really. We have a lot of big races, a lot of big money coming out. Tyler Courtney won the 360 Nationals. We got the big Nationals coming up. So kind of talk to our viewers about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good time of the year to be a sprint car fan. I mean, in my opinion, right now, there's never been a better time to be a sprint car fan than what's going on right now with, High Limit and the Outlaws. And, there's just a lot of good stuff going on. Obviously that weekend that Larson put together at Peevely is a historic one. I don't even think he realized that, he made some history over there. From what I gather, there's never been anybody that's won 2 straight outlaw races from outside the top 10. And then obviously he was, back-to-back hard chargers and won the race, and he, passed 31 cars in 2 nights and did all this crazy stuff. So that was a really cool deal to see. The most important thing for me on that front was just the fact that he was able to do it, I thought, on 2 completely different racetracks from one night to the next. One was, I'd say, the first night when he won from 21st. That was kind of the track that we're normally used to seeing at Peevely. The second night was not exactly what we're used to seeing, and it was a completely opposite racetrack, and he was still able to go out there and win. So, really cool weekend from Larson, and he continues to, promote sprint car racing, whether that's with High Limit or that's just with his driving. When he does those things, there's a lot of highlight reels that come out, and a lot of people see that and draws more eyes onto the sport. So that was really cool. Obviously, 360 Nationals was a good weekend. I was watching on Dirt Vision, but Tyler Courtney able to win that, relatively dominating fashion. Emerson Axum has been super impressive all year long, and he ends up in second. Wish we could have seen what could have went down between those two if Carson McCarl did not, kind of interrupt the progress of Axum there. But nonetheless, Tyler Courtney wins another big race, I think it was like 30 grand. So he's made a lot of money this year, which is cool to see. And then, last night I was sitting in the grandstands and watched the Capitani Classic, and Rico, after I can't remember last year if he did, but like the 2 or 3 years previous to that, he's always had to be on, Hard Knocks night racing on Friday at the Nationals because something goes wrong. So hopefully that's not the case for him this year, because he looked really strong last night. He's been strong all year on the half-mile tracks. He got a win with High Limit at I-70, got a win at Utica Row in New York, got a win with the Outlaws at Eldora. So he's been super, super strong on the half miles, and obviously got a win last night. So right now, man, I don't know who to – as far as guessing who's going to win this weekend, man, I have no idea. I think there's a lot of guys that can. Larson, I feel like a lot of people are probably saying him and Gravel are the 2 guys. Gravel for sure is up there on my list, but Larson just hasn't been able to qualify all year, and that's just such an important part of this format. You got to be able to qualify good, and that's something that he has not been able to do here this year. So I'd say Gravel's probably the favorite, but then after that, man, it's wide open. If he has a little mistake, anybody can win.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier, like sprint car racing, in terms of the depth of competition, it's never been at a better point. I was at Eldora for the Kings Royal this year, and like all 4 days were fantastic racing, and you almost forget about Donnie Schatz sometimes. Like he doesn't win as often as he does, but when it comes to the big money races, man, that guy he's always there. So
he always shows up at the right time.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. So my follow-up was going to be, there's 15 guys at least, if things go right, that could win this Saturday. Maybe talk about who might be some of the dark horses, because you know who some of the big guys are, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. Obviously, you can never count out Brad Sweet. I know he's been really struggling here recently. Hasn't won a race in almost 3 months, which is crazy to believe. But he was really good last night at the Capitani. He went 12th to 5th, and obviously that's just was a 25, 30 lap race. So the Nationals will be 50 laps long. You have plenty of time to work on your car and make moves up through the field. So you can't never count out Brad Sweet, but. Some dark horses, I don't even know if they would be considered dark horses, but the guys that run Knoxville on a weekly basis, I think that Aaron Reitzel and Austin McCarl, you need to give them a solid look. Obviously, they've been good all year long at this track. They race here every single week. They have the most laps out of anybody that comes in here and, just shows up for this weekend. So I like Austin McCarl. I like Aaron Reitzel. I think they're going to be solid. Brian Brown, he looked strong last night. Could he finally, kill the curse that is the Knoxville Nationals for him? We'll have to wait and see. Another guy that I think is a real dark horse, and man, was he fast last night, was Scott Boguski. That car, I don't know what they've got. I keep hearing they've got a 490 and not a 410. I mean, he is just so fast right now. He's won a couple of races here. A couple weeks ago, he won like 3 races in a row between Houston, Knoxville, and Jackson Motorplex. So I really like Scott Boguski a lot. I think he's an easy pick in the I don't know if you guys partake in any of the pools that go on for picking drivers, but he's an easy lock on that. I think honestly another guy that I like is Parker Price Miller. I mean, he was solid last night, got a good qualifying lap in, was decent in the feature, and he was so good with the Outlaws earlier this year when they came here to Knoxville. He ran second, led a bunch of laps, and there was a 60-car field then. And I know that he took that car he ran that night, put it on the shelf, and brought it back out for this week. So he's got the same car, same engine. So there's, like you said, there's 15 guys. I think there's more than 15 guys that if it goes right, they can put themselves in position to maybe take the Knoxville Nationals down. The only thing is, man, it's 50 laps. It's a long race for a sprint car race, especially at a half mile. The engines are going to be really under a lot of stress, and the driver's going to be under a lot of stress, especially the ones that have never won a crown jewel race. We think about Rico. He's never won a crown jewel race. He's never won the Kings Royal. He's never won the Nationals. Never won the National Open or anything like that, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of storylines going in, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. And for the first time ever, I don't have to work it. I'm gonna be just hanging out here, doing my own thing and hanging out and watching. So.
Yeah, that's exactly, Jacob, if you don't mind me jumping in, that's exactly what I was going to ask you about, because I remember on your last High Limit broadcast, you said this is the first time you're going to Knoxville as a fan. I've never been to Knoxville. I've been to the last 3 Kings Royals. Jacob, I don't think you've done Knoxville. Tell us what you're looking forward to just from a fan experience and not, kind of working, and then just what the Knoxville Nationals event is like as a whole, just going into that place as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, for me so far, I mean, obviously I was a fan even when I was working. That's all I've been as a sprint car fan. But a little bit of a different situation where I get to at least I get to talk about what's going on. But this whole event overall is just it's the biggest race of the entire year, and it's not even close. I mean, the Kings Royal is obviously a big race. National Open's a big race. Gold Cup's going to be a big race. Skagit Speedway race is going to be huge. Those are all high-paying races, but they just don't compare to what they have here in Knoxville. And it's the whole thing. It's not just the track; it's the whole town. It's just set up just absolutely perfectly for a big event. They've got the Dingus Lounge across the street. Man, you could throw a football from turn 1 and hit the guy in the head that's serving alcohol at the bar. I mean, they got the grocery store right across the street. I mean, everybody's walking around. I don't know. You guys said you've never been here, right?
Right.
And so I'm in a little motorhome type camper deal right now, and we're just parked on some guy's lawn. I mean, that's just how it is. There's tents all over the place. The whole town is taken over, and I mean, I could throw a football from here and hit Sheldon Hodenshield's trailer. I mean, he's got him and then Danny Dietrich and a couple other guys. All their trailers are right here at the shop next to us, and I don't know, man. It's so. I mean, I haven't been to a lot of big events as far as other late models or NASCAR and stuff like that, but I can't imagine there's many venues and events that are like this, where the entire town, all the fans, all the drivers and teams are all stacked on top of each other in a less than 5 mile square radius here. So it's a whole lot of fun, and obviously we still got a lot to go. I mean, we've only been there for 2 days, and there's a lot of people here. But by the time Wednesday and Thursday rolls around, it's going to be absolutely jam packed. I mean, they sold out of tickets for the Saturday portion, like last week. I don't know if that's the soonest or the quickest they've ever sold out or not, but that just goes to show you how many people are looking forward to this, and it's growing and growing every single week, I feel like. And I say this as much as I can because I think it's true that right now, if you looked at the like sprint car racing on a graph or something of popularity, I would say it's on a very steady trajectory upwards right now. There's more and more people coming into the sport, and it's going to get better and better, I think, especially with High Limit and the Outlaws having their little quote-unquote feud or whatever you want to call it. But, I'm hearing a lot of rumors and things like that I'm not kidding you guys. I wouldn't be shocked to see 20 guys on each tour next year and when they start the season. It's growing that much right now, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. Knoxville is always, one of the biggest shows for the sprint cars, and it's going to be definitely a huge event. Obviously, I was looking at the entry list before Chase come on, and I think we're at around 107 entries for the Knoxville Nationals. But kind of coming back to present time right now, tonight at 8 o'clock on Flow Racing, we're going to have the Front Row Challenge in Southern Raceway. That's pretty cool with Terry McCarl and all the McCarl family putting on that show, and the support from Sage Fruit and all them folks. But Chase, share your thoughts for going in tonight. It's kind of like had the Knoxville racing last night. Everybody kind of goes over and runs at Southern Iowa Raceway. Kind of trying to gear up, and also it's 21,000 to win. So I'm sure people are going to be trying to win that. James McFadden found some success there before. So share your thoughts about that for tonight.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there. I don't have a car to drive around. It's a pretty far drive, to be honest. It's like 45 minutes to get over there. But I'll definitely be watching, probably from the old Dingus Lounge or whatever on Flow, and keeping tabs on what's going on. But they've really put together a good event there. I mean, there's going to be last time I went there probably 2 years ago for that race, and there was 1 million people there. They get a really good field of cars. And they get a good field of cars because of all the money that they put in, all the work they put in for the different sponsorships and contingencies and all that stuff. Like I said, it's 21,000 to win, but I saw it's like almost like you get like a $3,000 Smith titanium brake kit to win a heat race, and you get just to win a heat, you get like another there's $150 gift card to the Dingus Lounge. There's another $500 going here and there, and all these different hard charger and hard luck awards, and all kinds of stuff. The Dash, I think, is like $2,000 to win, and then on top of or is it the Dash, or maybe whatever that foot race they have a foot race to line up that pays like $1,500 to win the foot race. It's just a really interesting event, and a track that really doesn't get a ton of national recognition. I'd say obviously this is definitely the biggest race they have there all year long, and a lot of people, if they're new fans, probably never even heard of it before. So it's kind of exciting to see that a little bit of an unknown track, right? Not many drivers have a lot of laps there, and it's not anywhere. I mean, it's a big track, but you can't compare it to Knoxville. But it's still a big track to where these guys are going to be really testing their motors out and things like that. I think that you could really learn a lot with how to tune the engine and things like that for Knoxville. You can learn some stuff tonight at Southern Iowa Speedway. So they're going to have a good field of cars. I saw that Larson's going to be there, Sweet. The Macedos are going to be there. All the top guys are probably going to be there. $21,000, man. That's that ain't chump change. I mean, that's how much it pays to win one of our midweek shows with High Limit. So $21K to win. I want to say it was like 7 or 8 for second. So decent purse, and hopefully they get a good turnout of fans and cars over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Chase, I want to shift gears and talk about yourself, your career, because a lot of people maybe don't know how things got started for you. You mentioned you're a sprint car fan your whole life. So I guess what came first, the chicken or the egg? How did you get started doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I thought I've been thinking about this here a little bit recently, but, obviously I could start where my first race was that I called. But honestly, I guess I've been behind a microphone longer than I thought. Like back in the day, in like 3rd and 4th, 5th grade, I'm sure you guys had to partake in the old, school plays for the Christmas plays, the Nutcracker and all that stuff. I actually was the narrator for those. So when I was in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I was always good at reading and spelling. And somehow I just remember this the other day that I saw a picture that I was narrating the play. I mean, while all the other kids were in the play, doing their thing, right? And so I guess that's kind of where I started on a microphone, you could say. But then it didn't take for another 12, 13, 14 years for me to actually start calling races, and that happened in 2015. And I'm probably one of the rare cases where I can actually go back and watch my first race that I ever announced. There's a highlight video, like a legit highlight video from the races that night, and I sound like a complete idiot. And some people might argue that I still do, but so that was 2015, and then I didn't even know what I was doing, man. I was just like kind of, I was in college and didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and then I did that, and I was doing a little bit more here and there. Didn't really know what I was going to do, and then I got a couple opportunities. The first year I was announcing, I got an opportunity to do the Indy Invitational. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that was that indoor midget race. It was a midget race indoors at the Bankers Life Fieldhouse where like the Indiana Pacers played during that was during PRI. It was a midget race and an outlaw car race. And that was a huge deal at the time. The race was a complete disaster. But I got that opportunity my first year. Like, it was crazy. And then like the second year, it took me a long time, maybe like 2 years after I started, to finally announce a sprint car race. And I did that for Loud Pedal. I don't know if you guys remember those guys. They had Loud Pedal the videos. He was the best ever at making videos and stuff. But yeah, he had asked me to do a couple sprint car races in California during California Sprint Week for non-wing sprint cars for USAC. And did a couple of those, and then that year he's like, "Hey man, Loud Pedal's going to try and do live streaming." This was before like every race was live streamed, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's like, "We're going to do the Turkey Night Grand Prix live, and I want you to announce it." I'm like, "Dude, I'm like 2 years into my whole career, and I'm announcing the freaking Turkey Night Grand Prix, like the longest running midget race of all time, right?" I think the year I did it was like the 71st or something like that, And obviously that's a really prestigious event, and I definitely wasn't ready for it. I mean, I was horrible. I don't even know what I was doing, but. I don't know why, but they said, "Hey, you're doing it." So I did that, and then for a couple of years after that, I was doing a lot of USAC West Coast stuff. I was trying to make my way into the USAC national scene and try and announce that, but things kept falling through, and it wasn't working out. And I was kind of spinning my wheels for a long time. I was announcing, but I was also, like I said, I was going to college, and then I was also having a full-time job as a forklift operator at a Walmart distribution center. So I was doing that until about 2:30 a.m. every day. And then I'd get up, go to school at 8 a.m. And then on the Saturday, I'd go to the races, and it'd be a 6-hour drive to the race. And I'm losing my ass on money. I'm not making any money. I'm basically losing money, right? I'm paying gas 6-7 hours to drive. I'm paying for a hotel, whatever it is, to come all the way back and all that. And I was like about to quit, and I was over it. And then, then I started doing some iRacing announcing. I don't know if you guys are on iRacing or not, but they have like a iRacing Pro series where it's the best sim racers. They race for like a legit like $20,000 championship or whatever, right? And I started doing those, and then right about that time, then COVID came through, and the Outlaws had their races on there where they had like Schuhart was racing and Gravel and Sweet, and everybody, like all the real guys were playing on iRacing, and Johnny Gibson was trying to announce it. But he's not very tech savvy. He didn't know what the hell was going on. And so I had some buddies that worked at the Outlaws. So Ross Weiss was one of them. And he was like, "Hey, why don't we have Chase? I know he does the iRacing stuff. Why don't we have him help Johnny? And they could, tag team the races." And I was like, wow, Johnny Gibson, man. I mean, he's the best of all time. And, I can't even get to work with him. Even though it's on a computer, it's still cool. And so I did those. And then later on that year, this was 2020. And then I went to Indiana for a midget or a micro race that I was announcing. And then that same weekend, like the day after the race ended, there was an outlaw race at Terre Haute. And I texted Brian Dunlap, who was the guy that basically created Dirt Vision. And I said, "Hey man, I was, I'm in the area, would you guys need a pit reporter?" Cause I've been watching, the outlaw shows that year, and they never had the same pit reporter twice. It was like somebody knew every race. They couldn't figure out who they wanted to have the pit reporter. And so I called. He's like, "Yeah, man. If you can figure out a ride over there, we'll pay you. But you got to find your ride over there, and we'll see what happens, right?" And so I went to Terre Haute that night, and it was like the craziest race of all time. There was like 17 red flags, and Brad Sweet was leading the points, and he crashed like 2 or 3 different times. Went in the work area, his tire flew into the parking lot, and I mean, Donnie Schatz came from dead last to second. I mean, it was just a crazy night. So I got a lot of TV time that day. And apparently they liked it, right? They said, okay, well, what are you doing on Tuesday? This was on Sunday, and I'm like, at this point in time, like I'm just like, you know, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I'm just like, am I going home? Like, am I staying here? Well, I guess I could stay for Tuesday, right? So it's the Brad Doty Classic at Attica, so I went to did that one, and then that one had another Brad Sweet wrecked again, and like there was just a bunch of crashes, and so I got a bunch of TV time again, and then after that race, they're like, hey, have you ever been to Williams Grove? I'm like, no, I've never been to Williams Grove. And like, well, hey, you want to go do the Summer Nationals in 2 weeks? And I was like, I mean, who's going to say no? And then after I did that, it was like I did like, I don't know, 15, 20 more races. And then the next year, 2021, they asked me to do it full time. So I did that 2021, 22, and 23. And then obviously with High Limit now. So I guess that's a relatively brief overview of how I am here now, I guess. So.
Yeah, I know personally there, Chase, because us at Phenom Motorsports, we're all involved with the iRacing stuff. And I remember, hearing you as a pit reporter, and then now you were in the iRacing announcing those. And it seems like quickly you've been able to jump up through your announcing career all the way up to, a national sprint car tour with the high limit sprint cars, and all your involvement with when you were with the Outlaws too. But I remember earlier this year, the last time I got to talk to you was at East Bay Raceway Park for the first race of the High Limit Series, and it seems like this season's going by pretty quickly. Obviously, we're kind of getting down there on time, but just quickly talk about overall your experience so far this season. Obviously, the racing's been awesome, but you personally going from each track, and you're doing your job, but you're also having a lot of fun with the guys, with Tony Laporta and all them, and the cool playlist stuff. So kind of talk about behind the scenes of how much you're enjoying the season.
Yeah, it's been fun. The main reason, there was obviously a lot of reasons and things that went into me switching the job from the Outlaws to High Limit. One of them was obviously getting the chance to be an announcer and not a pit reporter anymore, right? That was a pretty big part of it. Another part of it was, way less races, right? I mean, I love racing. It's my job. It's been my job for 5-6 years full time now. But I do like other things. I like golfing. I like hockey. I like hanging out with my family, my girlfriend, things like that, right? So I needed some. I just wasn't. I didn't want to be 9 months out of the year. That's all I'm doing is a race every single weekend, right? And with High Limit, I get a lot of time off, right? And it's been pretty nice so far. And yeah, I mean, the whole year it's been a lot of fun. Like you said, Tony Laporta and I seem to have a pretty good thing going on. Most of the time we're just making fun of each other the whole time on the broadcast, which so far people seem to enjoy that. It is pretty funny. I'm one of these times I got a bad feeling one of us is going to go a little bit too far on the broadcast, but hopefully not. But obviously traveling around with each other a lot, we see each other do some dumb stuff. And like that, I don't know if you guys saw that Lernerville race where he had the picture, the glasses or whatever, but yeah. I mean, it's just stuff like that just, makes it a little bit more fun. I think that's the biggest difference right now between watching an Outlaw broadcast compared to a High Limit broadcast. I think we have a little bit more fun on our side, but we do know when to keep it serious. And, when it's time to be serious, we're serious. But when it's time to, have a little fun and there's downtime or whatever, we can do that too, And so hopefully the people watching at home get a couple laughs in throughout the night and things like that. And like you said, the racing this year has been, it's been crazy. It's been absolutely crazy. The Durst dice roll getting claimed 6 times in 30 races. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Like you said, the playlist deal has been a big hit. The playlist deal, it just cracks me up that people are like, man, I hate the playlist deal sucks. It's the worst thing ever. I'm sorry that not everybody likes the exact same music as you. That's not how it works. But, that's one of my biggest gripes is people complain about the playlist because they don't like the same music as them. But, that's been a big hit. We got a couple other, like the wheel that we got for the dice or for the redraw. That's been a pretty big hit as well. I mean, that's the thing when you start a new sprint car series, you've got to try and do things that are different because the bottom line is we're all still racing in a circle on dirt. I mean, it's hard to change what's going on there because that's the bottom line. That's what we're doing. So I think High Limit's done a good job so far of implementing different things to make it a little bit of a different viewing experience and different for the drivers as well. The format's a little bit different with the quick time guys starting 4th, and that's provided some interesting moments this year. And the other thing is I really like the schedule we've had. I mean, with the Outlaws, it was going to Williams Grove 6 times. It was going to Volusia 5 times. It's going to all these kind of like half miles a lot and the same tracks over and over. High Limit's gone to a bunch of places this year that are, I've probably had 15 new tracks this year, and tracks I never even heard of that we go to, and the racing's been good, and it helps put them on the national stage, at least the track, right? And it's provided a lot of good racing because nobody has a notebook for these places, right? So, yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about what we're doing at High Limit. It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot more laid back and low key, and the drivers. I mean, it's hard to deny that we have, I'd say, the better overall field of cars compared to the Outlaws, right? Like the Outlaws, I think they have the star power, right? Like those first 5 guys. I mean, you got Donnie and Sheldon and David, obviously, and Carson. Like those are 4 of the best drivers in the country, right? But if you look back through the field, if you took their top 12, because they have 12 guys, and you took our top 12 in points, I mean, it's not even close. The depth of the field goes to High Limit, and that's provided some incredible moments this year with different guys getting up front, leading laps. So that's been really fun, and hopefully the rest of the year we can continue to have good racing. I think when we go to California, you're going to see a lot of good stuff too, and I'm looking forward to it.
One thing I wanted to ask before we run out of time with you, Chase, as an announcer, you've had Johnny Gibson in your ear for the last 3 years, you said. How much are you constantly having to worry about maybe kind of developing your own style and not falling into the habits of mimicking somebody that you've just had to, you've been listening to for so long?
That is a great question, actually. Man, that's actually a really good question. Like you said, I've listened to Johnny for literally, like, I'm wearing these right now. Like, yep. I was hearing them when I slept, like I was sleeping, I was hearing Johnny. And then before that, I was a sprint car fan, and I would listen to him watching Dirt Vision, and I listened to him before there was even video. I was watching, Dirt Vision audio, just listening to Johnny, right? And I've listened to Johnny for 15 years at least. So I do catch myself sometimes saying things that he would say, as far as like, I'm trying to think of an example right now, but like not like race call type things, but more like things like in between, mm-hmm. like between hot laps and qualifying, and you say like, qualifying is up next, and we're going to have 1 car on the track at once. They're going to go for 2 laps, and the track record is this by this guy at this and this, and I don't say that we don't measure the track at this between the outside wall and the inside. I don't. But like, there's moments where I'm like, okay, you're starting to sound like Johnny, right? But I would say the race call is different, and I still got a lot of work to do, man. I'm only 30 races in. I've got a ton of work to do. I know I'm not anywhere near the best. I'm not claiming to be the best at all. I know I have a lot of work to do, and I'm still. I think that Kyle and Brad and Mike Hess, when they hired me, they knew there was going to be a little bit of some time to develop. Right, I'm not just going to snap my fingers and be the best of all time. Right, which is what some people on the internet seem to think. I got a comment the other day on one of my YouTube videos. The guy was like, you're the worst, and I cannot believe they replaced Blake Anderson with you and this and that. I'm like, so you're telling me that a guy that's been announcing sprint cars for 10 years is better than a guy with 30 races? You're probably right, man. I mean, for sure. I totally agree. I mean, Blake Anderson is one of the best, and Johnny Gibson, I think, is the best. You might not like his voice, but everything else he does, man, he's like a robot, dude. He's literally a robot. He says the exact same thing every time. You know what he's going to say. You know what you're going to get when you turn on a Dirt Vision race. He's going to be absolutely jacked up when somebody goes quick time. I mean, like you said, it's a good question that you asked there, and I try my best to be myself and be different, because I think a lot of people are, and I don't even know why. Like they're tired of hearing Johnny all the time, right? And they want to hear somebody different. And like me, like I said, I think Johnny's great. I think he is the best of all time. But people are wanting to hear somebody different and a different style. And hopefully we're able to deliver that. And like I said, man, I still got a ton of work to do. I got a lot to learn. And hopefully by the end of the year, we've got it all figured out. But I try my best to not sound like Johnny. I try to use my own language, my own, own verbiage and all that kind of stuff to be a little bit different, because people have heard him for the last 10, 15 years, every race. So they know what he's going to say. And I want to try and be a little bit different, a little bit more off the cuff, I guess.
Well, we're definitely excited to, hear Chase calling all the High Limit Sprint Car Series shows coming up for the rest of the year. And before we get into our DJD gear, rapid fire segment, I wanted to let our viewers know if you go over by Shaun's head up in the right corner, you can scan that QR code and check out all the High Limits racing schedule to check out, when the next race is and when you can hear Chase on Flow Racing. So yeah, I'll throw it over to Shaun for our rapid fire.
Yeah, so Chase, we always end with our rapid fire segment, which is a lot like the Butler seat question that you guys do. Just 10 rapid fire questions. You just come up with the first answer that comes to your head. And here we go. Which driver gives the best interview?
I'm going to go with Spencer Baston, I think he does. Yep.
Who is your favorite driver growing up?
I'm going to go with Darren Pittman.
Oh. Who is your favorite all-time play-by-play announcer, any sport?
I'm going to go with Joe Beninati. He's the play-by-play guy for the Washington Capitals NHL team.
All right. What 3 songs would you have on your High Roller playlist?
DMX, X-Go and Give It To You, Burn It Down, Linkin Park, and then All the Small Things, Blink 182. That's going to be 3 songs that are on mine.
I love it. Which racetrack that you've been to has the best food?
Best food. I'm gonna go with Eldora. Eldora's got the best food, I think.
Pretty good. You might have answered this one earlier, but what's the most memorable race that you've broadcasted, either as a play-by-play or pit reporter?
I'd say the most memorable one for me, just thinking right off the bat, is the Dave Blaney win at Sharon. That was a crazy moment, so I'm gonna go with that one for now.
All right, and I think I know the answer to this one because you think you just answered it. Your favorite hockey team?
No, favorite hockey team is it's got to be. Due to proximity and due to me actually going to their games, the Columbus Blue Jackets be my favorite team just because we go to their games. So,
right. All right. Which race, and it doesn't have to be dirt, which race would you love to broadcast one time?
As a play-by-play guy, I think that it has to be the Knoxville Nationals. Obviously, I've done it for the pit reporting, but I think I'd want to do the Knoxville Nationals one time as a broadcaster, as an announcer.
Right. What's the best thing to do in Upper Sandusky, Ohio?
Best thing to do in Upper Sandusky? Either play golf or go bowling, because that's about all there is to do. So go bowling or golfing.
All right.
And there's a Walmart there. We go hang out at the Walmart.
All right. Last one. All-time winnings or losses on dirt race betting. Where do you stand?
Just dirt racing betting. I might actually be in the green on that one. If we're talking about betting on everything else, I'd be in the red. But I would have to think that I'm going to say plus lifetime, plus 1,500 on the gains, because I did win the Chili Bowl pool for $3,000 a couple of years ago. So that definitely inflated our numbers. So plus 1,500. That's what we're going with.
Love it. All right, Chase, we thank you so much for being generous with your time. I know you got to run. Enjoy the Knoxville Nationals, man. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll see you down the road, and good luck the rest of the year.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys. See ya.
After the Scales is proudly presented by DJD Graphics. From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Shaun and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.